Hello, this is wmpyr here with yet another video on Generations Armada Megatron. What can I say, folks? It's just been a fascinating figure. I can't stop talking about it, and I am thoroughly satisfied with this figure. So right here you can see that he has this translucent green gigantic sword that I put on him. It was from Energon Grimlock, if I'm not mistaken, which was actually a terrible figure. Terrible figure. And then I have two different mini-cons that I attached on here, different from what I had before in the previous video. But yeah, this, I guess, is a rant video. And my main rant is basically, I kind of feel like I've seen a lot of reviews with this guy just because I enjoy seeing videos on him. So when I watched other people's videos, basically I kind of noticed that people are trying to make this guy something that he's not. You know, they're trying to essentially make him into the original Armada Megatron, and this guy is not that. He is not a reissue. He is a remake. So that's the point that I want to kind of make clear. And I guess, like, you know, the reason why I'm saying that, and first of all, let's make it clear the difference between a reissue and a difference between a remake. A reissue is like, you know, you go to the movie theaters right now today, and they're showing Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. They're showing that again. You know, that's like a reissue. A remake would be like, you know, the new RoboCop. It's different from the original movie. It's a newer version, and you know, a lot of times these remakes are not as good as the original. In this case, I have to, personally, I really have to say that I think that this remake here is just as good as the original, if not better. So that's just my own personal opinion, but I really do sincerely feel that way. But okay, so that's the difference, and you know, the reason why I feel like people are trying to make this into the original Armada Megatron is because of the comments, like, you know, where they say, how come the cannon isn't attached onto his hip? Well, you know, I kind of view it as like, well, that's a good thing, because if you look at the original, yes, the original Armada Megatron, the cannon was on his hip. Yes. That's kind of funny, because if you really think about it, that's wrong. That's messed up. Why was it on the hip? It shouldn't have been on the hip. But we all have come to accept that, and you know, it's just amazing what you can get used to, and we identify the Armada Megatron that way, that, oh, he's the one who had the cannon on his hip, even though that's wrong. At the end of the day, this guy, yes, he's an Armada Megatron, but at the end of the day, he is a Megatron. That DNA, should I say, is stronger than him being an Armada Megatron. He is a Megatron at the end of the day. So since he's a Megatron's supposed to have the cannon on his arm. So I would have to say that this guy is the one that he has it right, actually. Finally, we get an Armada Megatron where they do it right. That's the way that I'm viewing it, rather than how come it's not on the hip, you know? Another thing that I think people are talking about is, why does he have this purple gun over here? This thing right here. Let's see if I could show it to you guys. Yeah, this purple gun right here. The original didn't have it. Why does this guy have it? I don't know how you could complain about that. It's cool that they gave it to you. It works in his tank mode. It's interesting that you can combine it, and you could also split it apart. And there's multiple ways he could also hold it in his hand. And like I said, in tank mode, it just fits perfectly. That's cool, man. Whether you prefer a knife or not, I mean, that's your own preference. But I mean, I wouldn't complain that they gave you this purple gun. I do think it's cool. Would I have preferred a knife? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. If I had gotten the knife just like the original version, I think that would have been nice too. I wouldn't complain either way, you know? I mean, so to me, it's really not that big of a deal. For some people, they would have definitely 100% preferred the knife because that's what the original had. Like I said, to me, this guy is a remake. So, you know, it doesn't have to be exactly like the original. In fact, I am enjoying the differences. You know, at first glance, you look at him and you enjoy the similarities. Okay, that's easy to do. You know, the color schemes is like the original. I agree, and I like that. I like that. I like the color schemes here. And then the head sculpt. The head sculpt captures the original. But you know what? One thing is, I haven't heard anyone say that this head sculpt is far superior to the original. I haven't heard anyone say that. I personally feel that it's far better than the original. The original, his claw horns were way too big to the point where it actually looked silly. The only redeeming factor of that was that it had a function in tank mode. Other than that, it really looked silly. Right here with this guy, it looks awesome. It really makes him look menacing. I prefer this head sculpt compared to the G1 version of this guy. I prefer this head sculpt by far. It looks cooler. It looks more wicked. He looks meaner. For me personally, I like it. And then I also like the Armada, the original Armada version. So I like the Armada Megatron, and I like that. I can't say that I prefer the Armada Megatron over the G1 Megatron character-wise, but toy-wise, the Armada Megatron is far superior to the original G1 Megatron toy. I mean, even the G2 Megatron looked far superior to the original G1 Megatron, which was absolutely hideous. Hideous. All right, I like G1. Big time G1 guy, but you know, I have no problem saying he looks hideous, you know? And then so right here, when I compare the robot mode of this guy versus the robot mode of the original Armada Megatron, this is by far superior. This head sculpt's better. His proportions, everything is by far superior, and he's supposed to be. He looks excellent in robot mode. His articulation is great, and that's generations for you. That's the generation line. That's what they do. If you look at the Armada line, it's all about the gimmicks. So that's what they do over there. So, you know, the fact that he doesn't have the gimmicks like the original, I think that's completely fine because he's not from the Armada line. He's from the Generations line. But on the other hand, he does have the Minicom ports, which is probably the best gimmick or the best homage they could have given this guy that is linked to the original, and I think that's sweet, and I'm taking full advantage of it. So I constantly change the minicons that I put on here, so in other words, that makes this guy backwards compatible, and yeah, that's to me is absolutely genius. I enjoy doing that. It looks kind of silly for sure in robot mode, but that looks silly on all the Armada lines anyway. On tank mode, it looks a little better when you put on the minicons. It definitely does look a little better. But in robot mode, but you know what? Like I said, on all the Armada guys, it looked a little funky anyway. That you have like these mini things attached on. But at the same time, it was cool. It just, you know, it gives you that kind of. It was kind of like Transformers version of Pokemon, and it was very, how do you call it? Imaginative is what it was. So, you know, I can't fault them. That was the magic of Armada, you know? And so this guy, he still captures that spirit. So that's very, very cool. Yeah, so, you know, overall, when you compare this guy to the Armada Megatron, in tank mode, this guy is a more realistic looking tank. The Armada tank, the original Armada Megatron tank, the one that everyone calls the H tank, is a creative looking tank. So I got to give it points for creative looking. If you like that, that's cool. It had the gimmicks on there. And yeah, I thought, and it looks good. It actually looks good the way it is, you know? So in that sense, maybe the original Armada version is kind of cooler. You know, and then for some people, they may not like that. They just might prefer a more realistic version of a tank. Transformation wise, I really don't know which one is better. For me, this guy is in Masterpiece class. So to have a transformer in Masterpiece class and to be able to transform this guy in 15 steps, that's pretty impressive, folks. That is really impressive. You know, that they narrowed it down to 15 instead of, they could have easily given this guy like, you know, to where it would take like 20 minutes to transform this guy. But they didn't do that, thank goodness. Thank goodness. I guess they listened to the fans. They realized that more isn't better. Super complex is not a good thing. And yeah, so because of it, I also feel that he's a lot more solid than some of those other Masterpiece Transformers out there that seem extremely brittle. This guy just seems a lot more solid, and that's a huge plus for me. And so transformation-wise, you know, it's kind of hard for me to tell. Robot mode, you know, for sure, this guy, he looks cooler, period. Looks cooler. And then this guy's all about articulation. Like I said, Generations, all about articulation. The original Armada Megatron, all about gimmicks. So then the question is, since that is apples and oranges, I think the comparison that we can make is which one does their own thing better. So as far as articulation wise, the only major complaint that I've really heard about this guy, I mean, you know, some people just nitpick, but the major thing is his shoulders. Yes, his shoulder thing, it's a little weird and blah, 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 but it works. It works. At the end of the day, it works. So to me, that's not even a real complaint then. The original Armada Megatron, his gimmicks, he has a ton of gimmicks galore. But at the same time, you got to admit, some of those gimmicks suck. Some of those gimmicks are not that cool. So because of that, I kind of feel like this guy does his thing a little better. And then plus, on top of that, overall, he looks cooler. I mean, his proportions, to me, this is almost like this is the way the original Armada Megatron was trying to look like this guy right here. So, you know, I'm not knocking on the original. I'm just saying that they are different. So anyway, that's it for now. Thank you for listening, and take care, folks.